Welcome to It Comes in Pints, a Seattle Study Club podcast where we will explore a myriad of topics: clinical, health and well-being, psychological, education, business, and much more. I'm your host, Greg Tice.
Hello, my name is Sameer Bhasin. If I go by the title, I'm the Vice President of Alliances at CareCredit.
So I want to welcome everyone to the latest episode of It Comes in Pints, a Seattle Study Club podcast with your host, me, Greg Tice. And today I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming what I would consider one of my best friends in dentistry, Sameer Bhasin, to the podcast. So round of applause for Sameer. Sameer, we've known each other a very long time, but this podcast in particular, the intention is for you and I to be sitting in a pub, which we have done on plenty of occasions, have a drink and have a conversation.
We have done that
To do that, we have to have a drink.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking today?
What am I drinking? So I'm in Texas. It's kind of warm. So I decided let's have something refreshing. And then I found this amazing thing. I'm having a Moscow Mule, but it's extra special because I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see the.
I can make it out just barely. It's the Seattle Study Club.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember which symposium were we at? Where were we?
So here's the thing. It's so funny. As I was making it, I was like, did they give it or did I just take it from them? No, it was. I cannot remember which symposium it was. Or it was where I cannot remember.
No, I think we might have been in Naples, Florida, potentially.
Possibly. Yeah, I can't think of it. But I like it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, I'm going a little Seattle on you. I have found a local distillery that makes a cold brew whiskey.
Oh.
So it's coffee and whiskey. It's really good. So when you're up next, we'll have some. But cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Chink. There we go.
Drink. Yeah.
All right, let's jump in. So let's start here. Most people in dentistry know you. You are probably the most well-known, recognizable individual in all of dentistry.
Oh, wow.
And you've been in dentistry a long time. Started as a rep. You were carrying a bag for a while, right?
I did. Yeah. In fact, even before. So yeah, I've been with CareCredit now 20 years, and I did start out as a rep for 4.5 years, and then I had the opportunity to lead a team in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma for 4.5 years, and the last 11-ish years is where I've been in this role. But before CareCredit, I worked for Dentsply Tulsa Dental. I was an endo rep for.
Yeah, that's right. It was endo. That's right.
So quite some time. Love this profession. It's hard to get out. I don't want to get out.
It's next to impossible to get out. So what was the moment? Was there a moment where you realized this is where I'm supposed to be?
So it's very interesting. So when I got recruited by CareCredit, which was GE, was owned by GE at that time, the offer letter sat on my fax machine for several days because now you've been doing it long enough. You kind of see there's the whole clinical side of it, and then there's the admin side of it.
Yep.
Really high functioning offices, it kind of blends in really well. There's a good communication and good, but for the most part, there's almost like there's like a divided line in the back, in the front, clinical, admin. So I was on the clinical side of it, and then I was like, I don't know, do I really want to be part of the admin? And then it just kind of hit me. It was like, it only becomes an issue when you don't have relationships. Like if I was the kind of rep, even with Tulsa Dental, that I came in and I didn't care who you were because I needed to talk to the doctor, I had great relationships with the team up front. So it was like, actually, this is much better because now I can not only be part of, dentistry as itself is like, a a tooth at a time, not talk
Yeah.
about. So like, I don't want to be just be part of one procedure. I want to be part of the whole business of dentistry. So that's, I mean, shortly after, I was here maybe like a couple months in, and it clicked. It was like, this is this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is where I'm supposed to be at. And
That's phenomenal. And obviously you had an amazing mentor in Bet.
oh
So
God,
we'll do a little name dropping and a shout out, but I can't think of a better teacher, mentor in dentistry than her.
150,000%. And there is nothing like when you have somebody like that, and then she tells you very early on in your career, I've got my eyes on you. I'm gonna be watching
Yeah.
you. So I was like, oh wow. I was like, oh wow. Like it just
Yeah,
this
that's a big oh wow.
it's so yeah. But I have been very, very fortunate. I mean, we've had some phenomenal leaders, Beth Johnson, of course, being one of them, and still to this day, a good friend of ours and good friend of mine. And still, if I was to call her and ask her, I know she is so passionate about dentistry. She's still part of CareCredit right now. That has always been like a person that I can always look back, and I still do, is like the one person who is so passionate about the profession, and I was just lucky enough to be there to absorb it and to learn from her.
Yeah, right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But you were the right fit too. And I'm not shining you on when I say that. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
And there are people who would not have reacted the same way in that scenario. Um, but, enough of that. So here's where we're going to go. Because whenever I see you, which is more often probably than I would like, but lots of different meetings,
You are stuck.
you are always hanging out with Julie Radziminski from Benko.
Oh my God.
What's the appeal? I mean, she went to Boston College. What's
See, that's where me growing up somewhere else, I don't have those allegiances like you do. I'm a very neutral. Yes, I grew up in India, but I can be very Switzerland. But Julie is a phenomenal person. She's so smart, and I mean, again, I'm all about like learning from, and so Julie's leadership, her strategic mindset, which I
Oh
wish
yeah.
I had a little bit more of, and of course she's just so much fun. She is a funny person, and so
She has fun, which is why I can tease her a little bit.
yeah.
But you're right, she's also brilliant. And I've known you both for a very long time. But let's do this. Pretend I haven't met you yet.
Okay.
Julie hasn't met you yet, and you're at dinner with Julie and I for the first time. Describe your job to us.
Okay.
What do you do?
The easiest way that I can say is I get to work with the Oprahs and the Tony Robbins of the world. So what does that mean? When Oprah says, "This is like the best pen I've ever used," everybody and their dog wants that pen,
Buys the pen, right?
buys that pen. Similarly, we have some phenomenal educators in our profession. I mean, Seattle Study Club has so many. It's
Sure.
it's more of a peer to peer. It's the endorsement. It's coming from someone who's not only been in the trenches, but has solved for that business need. So I get to work with them. So when they say, "Here's a product, here is a service, here is a person, here is a company that you should trust, you should partner with," that's who I get to work with. And it's a lot of relationships, and I think is just dentistry in general. Relationships first, transactions second. So that's how I would
So would you
describe.
define yourself as a connector then?
Yes, yes, because it's not about like what's going to benefit me or company. It's a lot of the time it's I know someone and I know someone else and they should talk. They should connect. They can benefit. I mean, and mutually, like of course, all of us we all ultimately want to come as a team, like whether it's Julie with Benko, even though CareCredit and Benko technically don't really have like a corporate relationship, But
Sure.
a lot of what they do from education standpoint, a lot of what I do with sponsoring education, it's like, let's meet. I was like, oh, by the way, Julie, you need to meet with so and so because I think they will be a great partner, or at least a great person to know, whether it ends up being like a business partnership or not. But
Yeah, I think, a couple of things. One, it basically what you're saying is a rising tide lifts all boats, which is really good. And Michael Cohen used to say this all the time, but if you put other people first, that actually comes back to you tenfold.
yeah,
If you do it without expectation of
right.
return,
Yes.
it will come back to you over time
Yeah.
tenfold.
Yeah.
And whether you call that karma, the universe talking to you, whatever it
Yeah.
is, and I believe you embody that. But is that accurate?
Firm believer in it. Yeah,
All right.
I say it all the time. Even when somebody says like, "Oh, I would love to work with you, but I don't know how." It's like it's okay. We can still be friends. We can still talk, and it may not be right now. We don't see it, but it will come. But it's definitely. But oh, by the way, you should talk to so and so. They
Yep.
will be a good contact for you. So, but yeah, I'm a very much a believer in that, and that's something that we talked about Beth earlier. She is fantastic at it. Like her
Yep.
mind runs like a million miles, and she is literally seeing like 8 points later. I am just like, oh, here and here, and I think
Yeah.
it'll be good.
You and me
So,
both.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It-
I get it. Okay, so I think most of our audience knows you relatively well, knows what you do, but I want them to understand a little bit about who you are when you're not working. So, who
Well,
are you on Saturday?
who am I on
And
Saturday?
if yeah, who is Sameer on a Saturday when he's not working? And by the way, if you refer to yourself in the third person, I'm ending the interview right now. So
Oh, it can almost be a little bit embarrassing because I travel a lot for work, which I absolutely love. And when I am not traveling for work, I'm thinking about traveling. So so on Saturdays when I'm home, it's like, oh, let me look at like where is like a good airfare right now. And if you look at the back of me, I mean this is not only just a vision board, it's my bucket list, it's my second tier bucket list, and it's also where I have been and where I would go again and where I would never go back again. So if I'm not traveling, I'm thinking about traveling. And
and do you travel by yourself or do you travel with someone?
so I have only been on two solo travels. It's always been someone, like either some family member or a group of friends. But I just came back from Japan, and that was my second solo trip. And different way of it's interesting. There are certain aspects of traveling solo that I love. I don't mind because I'm the super early riser, and it's like let's just go and see things. But
Sure.
then you realize I think part of the traveling is also that's why I think friends and companions are fantastic because when you see something, it's like you want to have a conversation about that,
Yep.
and so it's like, oh my gosh, great, this is fantastic. Like so, but yeah, it's I do not discriminate when it comes to traveling. I group,
Traveling solo for work is different than traveling for
pleasure.
pleasure or for fun
Yeah,
solo. I think it's harder to do.
yeah.
I'd rather share that with somebody.
So true. That's why I said like when I last year was the first time when I went to Rome was the very first time. So it was interesting, like a newer experience. But then I thought, it's like, you know what? How about I do some tours? Like there is a group of people. It's a tour. Like it's a place I want to go. So you still connect with people, and
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that. But then again, you're on your own schedule also. So you kind of get a little bit
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. So, okay. So, favorite place you've been then? Not for work, for personal. What's the number one you'd go back to in a heartbeat?
Oh my gosh. I think it'd be easier for me to if you had asked like which one would you not want to go back to.
Oh, that'll be the next question.
Yeah, it's I would rank Japan probably in my top 3 to 4 places.
Really?
Japan is definitely one. Loved Scotland. That's another one, and France only because I have like family affiliations and little bit more partial to that. And of course, I'm not
Okay.
including India because that's just a given. Um,
Yeah.
is it? I don't know. But so, so those I would say are like some of my top three so far.
And where would you never go again?
Can I say this out loud?
Yeah.
Okay, Dubai.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Because so when I travel either for culture or history or architecture.
and it's just shiny new
Yeah,
plastic.
I think Dubai, and nothing against people who live in Dubai. I mean, it's for me, it's like the cleaner version of Vegas. It's the biggest this, it's the brightest this, it's the tallest this. I mean, it's that, and it's all modern, and it's very clean, very opulent. I'm sure it's somebody, but it's not for me. So to
Yeah,
me, it's like,
it's the
yeah,
Mall of
I went,
America.
yeah, I see, yeah, exactly. It's like I did, I saw, moving on. Yeah, so
Yep.
I wouldn't. It's not like I am banning it, but I'm not going on my own dime. So,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Absolutely.
yeah.
Good answers. Good answers. All right. So let's bring it back around a little bit. You sit, I think, at a really interesting intersection in dentistry between your connections to key opinion leaders, to educators, to consultants, to practices, to your own team, to what you're exposed to through synchrony and all of that. What are you hearing right now that you wish more practices understood?
I think it's been coming, and it's the it's been coming, and I'm starting to hear more and more of it. Is understanding the business side of dentistry. Again, I remember I said it earlier on. Like I was in clinical side, and then came to the admin or the
Yes.
business side, and that was in the last many years. I mean, pretty much when I first started, it was a very tough conversation to have with the dentist. And rightfully so. You go to 4 years of school and you accumulate all that debt not to figure out like what the P&L looks like.
Yeah.
They want to do the clinical work. That's what they are trained for, and that's what they're good at. But I think the that's where I think it's the educators, the coaches and the consultants and the teams are starting to also look as like clinical education is critical, no doubt about it. You have to have it. The other half is how the patients have changed. It's not the same loyal patient that you and I grew up with. Like, oh, I've been going to the same dentist for years and years and
Yeah.
years, and my kids are probably going to go there. My family goes there, right? It's not that anymore. Patients will they are more sometimes savvy, the other times blindly savvy about
Yeah.
what it is, and so they go a little bit in more preparation and expectation, and I think expectation is the biggest part. It's I find it over and over again. It's not the clinical skills that tells a patient or is the reason the patient says no to accepting that care. It's honestly like cost may be close. It will be probably in like the top two or three, but experience is the one that kind of changes everything,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to see a lot of that, and the more I see in the education and even from the podium, there has been a good mix now. It used to not be like at large meetings.
Yes.
It was primarily clinical, very little the business or practice management. But I'm starting to see that shift. I mean, sometimes you almost have to be very careful, keeping in mind that your actual audience is still a dentist. You want to stay true to that, but how could we integrate the business side so it becomes like, yes, you are the CEO. You don't need to be an expert,
Yep.
but you need to be aware of it. So
Well, as you know, we've done two symposia
yeah,
where it was just business.
yes,
There was not a single tooth shown on screen.
yeah,
The first one, I think we were a little ahead of our time, meaning I think for a very long time, there has been lip service given to the business side of
yeah.
dentistry, but the individual was like, I don't want to do HR and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do it was seen as a drag, like I have to
Mhm.
learn this. Business can actually be fun, and I think And tell me if you're seeing this or not, but I think clinicians are waking up to the fact that it's actually kind of interesting to understand the numbers, understand the trends, understand what's working, what's not, and it's no longer a feeling like a personal attack. It's like, oh, we can just tweak a little bit and do this and
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, and you're right, because that's why I say I'm seeing more and more of that. I'm actually seeing the shift in the mindset of the dentist as well, especially the younger ones who are coming on. And I say within even in the last 5 7 years, who
Yeah.
have graduated, it's much different, a little different mindset. It is more prone to, I want to understand it. I want to understand how I can do the dentistry I want and how does that tie to my productivity and my
Yeah.
profitability, instead of just doing what's showing up. And so a little bit more aware and intentional. So I'm starting to see a lot more of that. Of course, there's always room for improvement. You know,
Yep.
is it where we all would like for it to be? No, but where we are heading, it's at least the path is nice. There is a
Yeah,
path.
I think there's an endpoint's the wrong term, but there's a direction now that people are recognizing.
Yeah.
I think is important for them.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to throw you another curveball because I want to hear the story behind this.
Yeah.
One of the places we've hung out a lot is at SCN, Speaker Consulting
Yeah.
Network. And when you present now at Speaker Consulting Network,
Yeah.
you are always wearing a costume.
Oh yeah.
Why are you wearing a
I know. Oh.
costume?
So, so here's something that you probably never done, and based off of that, you would have never guessed. Um, I, I, I'm not a big fan of Halloween. I don't like costumes. I've
I
never
would not have
have,
guessed.
never have. But that's also me. It's like I envy people who can just be so bold and just go out and do it. It's like that is so not me. I would love for it to be me. But the way it kind of ended up becoming a thing, it was never supposed to be a thing, was a long time ago. Here's the thing. I mean, for something that we've been doing for as long as we've been doing, like next year we'll be celebrating 40 years. We've been at it for a very long time, and thankfully, and we've done it the right way. We've done it the very intentional way. We don't come up with new stuff all the time. So
Right.
to a
How do you keep it
practice,
fresh and interesting?
yeah. And so when you get up on the stage, like I can only say so many times that we do patient financing, but there's so much more. Like that's just a small portion of a practice's business. There's much
Yeah.
more that goes along with it. So how do I make it memorable? And that's how it ended up becoming. So I was talking to a very good rep of mine, and you probably remember him, Chris Savage, super tall guy.
Oh
He
yeah.
came to me a couple times at the symposium, and I was telling him, I was like, hey, this is the thought I have. This is the concept I want to, because we've done such a poor job of telling our practices what is a good KPI, what is a good metric that you can say, am I utilizing patient financing? I don't care who you have, but am I really utilizing, or it's just there, kind of like that CEREC machine. It's there, but are you actually
Yep.
utilizing it? And so I came up with the idea, like, okay, it's to be 10/20, kind of like 10/4. I get it. So 10/20 is what's your location? Where are you at? And he goes, oh, wow, that's great. So you know what you should do? You should dress up as a cop. I was like, I don't do dress ups. That's like so dumb. I'm not gonna do it. He's like, well, that's the point. Nobody's gonna expect it. So that was it, and because that got people to listen, like, okay, what does CareCredit have anything to do with a person dressed up in a cop and that
Yep.
10/20? So it became a sticky point, and then again for next year, I mean, it just kind of like I said, it became a thing. The next year,
Have you done all the village people now?
okay, so that was never the intention. That was never the intention. It just again organically just kind of ended up being like next year I was like I had like engineering, like a construction. I was and I had originally, like, one of the times when I introduced myself, I had mentioned, like, I'm Sameer, I'm Indian, from India, dot, not feathers, so it
Yeah.
became like, okay, you started with there, then I was a police officer, then I was a construction. It was like, are you going for the village? And I was like, nope, I am not.
Nope.
That was never
Done.
planned. So that's it. But yeah, so it just kind of became a thing, and then I've contemplated many times, like, should I, or do I need to? And on some level, it's almost become an expectation, and people would guess and
Yeah,
ask, and what am I gonna be as? So all I know from that is, at least I know they are going to be in their seats listening to what I have to say, and I just kind of make it to where
absolutely.
educational for them. So
Well, you're a phenomenal presenter. I've heard you dozens of times. What are you working on now? What's coming down the pike? What new programs are you playing with?
yeah, oh gosh,
Because and here's sort of how I want to lead into this,
yeah,
because what you do and what CareCredit does at the end of the day really isn't about patient financing. That's the byproduct. You guys are actually helping people grow
yeah,
practices. Those that choose to engage,
yes,
you're really helping them get better at what they do and grow their practice. So I occasionally will hear you present on patient financing,
yeah.
but more often it's practice growth, it's case presentation, it's peripheral to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because I think it's a lot of the times, I believe, at least in my opinion, when you have a little bit more information about the patient base, the credit, what's going on. Like, I mean, we all live in our bubble, and dental practice especially. They work in their bubble, they
Yeah.
live in their bubble, and so sometimes you think, oh my gosh, am I the only one having these challenges? Am I the only one who's getting patients who are all insurance patients? Am I the only one who's got patients who are not accepting the treatment? Like, so you kind of get,
It can be an isolating
it,
industry.
it, it is.
Yes.
So I find that always gets like a lot of the conversations going. Like, let me help you understand who is the patient that's walking in. And I don't mean like, is it a professional or not? Let me kind of give you like what their behavior has been, what their buying behavior has been, what the retail industry is looking at. That's a good barometer sometimes to know, is the patient like where their mindset is at, what's their mental ceiling. So it's, I feel like that's critical. Once you kind of have an idea and understanding, you are in, at least in a better position to make changes. I don't like to use the word policy, but at least make changes in your systems and your processes to where it's cohesive, and it makes more sense, and it makes sense for you, your team, and definitely the patient. So what am I working on? So, one of the programs, the only program right now I think we have through Seattle Study Club, is the Science of Case Presentation, which is what I speak to at the clubs.
Yes. You're phenomenal at, by the way. If you haven't had this, y'all need it.
Thank you. And that was the one, we've had it for a few years, and I think now, again, sometimes it's about the timing, right? When I first launched it, it was, to your point, you were ahead of time. A lot of the doctors, like, it was a concept that not everybody was talking about, or at least from a business thinking of it that way. The last few years, and definitely in the last couple of years, it's become more like there is a little bit of hunger around it. Like, they want to learn a little bit more. And you and I know Dr. Pravir Sharma, like, uh,
Love
fantastic
Prevere.
guy.
Absolutely. Since we're name dropping, we'll drop Prevere as well.
Yeah.
So,
So he and I were just sitting at one of the events at actually, it was a Seattle Study Club event, and a couple of things he said, coming from an oral surgeon, from a business owner standpoint, it's like, you don't hear that very often, and I loved his perspective. And so we started talking about it. He's like, I was like, oh, I would love to have like a course. Would you not know, the more we talked, and we do talk a lot, it ended up becoming another course, which is, think of it like part two of what I am giving. It just goes a little deeper. It actually even talks about like little workshop and little
oh,
hands-on
great.
conversation and little role play almost, in a way. So that's what we were working on. Pretty excited about it. Hopefully we'll.
Oh, that's going to be, I can tell you right now, I'm signing up for that because it's going to be powerful. I know you and how you present. I've seen Prevere present, but the way he thinks is
Yeah.
different. He looks at things a little differently than most people.
Yeah.
And I think there's huge value in that.
Yeah, I got really, really lucky there. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's just more on where I am personally involved. And then as an organization, I just said it earlier, like, for all these years, CareCredit, we never really launched like, oh, here's the newest thing, or we're going to convert you to a plan. No, but I think we're just kind of turning again. It's the time. It's the time of where we are in dentistry and where we see is the need. Like we launched the large credit lines, like $9,500 to $45,000. We were getting a lot of, in fact, Sales Study Club was probably like one of the biggest reasons as to why we started looking at it. It's like, okay, again, 10 years ago, yes, we would get a request here and there, but
Yeah.
it just became a whole lot more. So between that, then ortho market has always been one of the ones that's eluded us. So we just recently, when I say recently, it's literally getting launched at the end of this month. A whole new ortho product, an ortho, um, uh, I would call it product, and how we go about loaning and approving. And so
So is that something you can talk about, or should we just link to it in the show notes and people can check it out when it's launched?
So it's I can give you like super high level.
Yeah.
It's the biggest portion with a lot of the ortho, and I'd like to talk about orthodontists for a quick second. Is they are heavy with in-house patient financing. And for them, it's like, yeah, I can because I'm going to see the patient for the next 18, 24 months. So they will pay every month. But that does not solve for the cash flow. Like you're still waiting for each. And so, and the part was, what's the cost associated with bringing in a patient financing? I would rather do it myself. And again, orthodontists, it's a special category. They are the only one of the few ones that can actually get away. I say get away very loosely, but like it's part of their business plan and it works for them.
Right. Yeah. They graduate ready to carry paper. So
Yes, yes. So we decided, like, how does that look if we became competitive in that aspect of it? Like, it was a very intentional approach. Approval rates was like a big conversation. So, but that's the part I just can't discuss just yet. But
yeah.
within the next few weeks to a couple months, you will hear a lot of roar around it. And so we're very excited about that. We're very excited about. We've always been part of like some kind of technology integration. Again, going back to, it's not about patient financing. What can I make it easier for the practice and the teams
Yep.
to not only have the data, have the process, stay in one screen instead of going in and out, in and out. So leveraging that so that you can use technology to help take one of the hats off, or at least take some of the burden of recruiting or doing applications or qualifying patients. Like, let the systems do it. You just take care of the patient. You just be that human behind
Yep.
it. So integrations has been a pretty big one for us. And a few months ago, actually not 6, 8 months ago, we acquired Versatile, which is the marketplace for financing. And what that really means is, practices would say, "Oh, I have CareCredit, but I also have company X, and I also have company Y." The challenge is I have to do 3 applications if one doesn't approve, or two don't approve, right? So now it's like, how about we just do one application and it comes up with the best offer.
Single simple. Here are your
Share
options.
your app. Yeah. So
Yeah.
some very, very cool stuff. Very excited. Like I said, you think like, how can money be exciting or financing be exciting? It can be
You've just
exciting.
become the Carvana of patient financing.
Yeah, just the best offer is out there. So
I can get you any type of car you
so,
Okay, so the economy has been, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, weird lately. Um, Consumer confidence is all over the place, right? There are people spending, there are people not spending. I mean, I read an article literally today that says Costco is ringing the warning bell because they are seeing a decline in the purchase of beef and an increase in the purchase of chicken and canned fish,
interesting.
which to them says, right, and that's huge, that's a big population number, that says we need to be concerned about this. Care Credit's all over the place, but Synchrony's even more all over the place.
Yes.
What are you hearing? What is Synchrony and Care Credit looking at in terms of consumer
Yeah.
confidence, decisions around dental work in particular. What does that feel like for you guys currently?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yes, our parent company, Synchrony, it's what most people don't realize. We're probably like the fourth largest credit card network after Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, because you, Greg, may not have a CareCredit credit card, but you may have Lowe's, you may have a Discount Tire, you may have a Lazy Boy, you may have Dick's Sporting Goods. Like, there's like
Yep.
almost thousands of other businesses that we work with, like Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, Verizon. So do credit cards for that. So that kind of gives us a little bit more in-depth
Yes.
sight into your spending habits and your paying habits, like your credit worthiness. It's not just the credit score.
Yep.
And what we are finding, the last I heard was the credit scores are inflated. So I'm just gonna use like an example, like, oh, you may think, oh, my
Really?
credit score is 700, but the behavior of that person with a credit score of 700, it's more like that of somebody with 650 or 660. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So when we look at it, it's like this, that's why we say don't just go by credit score. And we have, like, again, our proprietary system, it's called Prism, and you'll hear more about it. We're talking more about it now, and that's just kind of gives us a very different viewpoint. But the where it starts to change is everything else that Synchrony does outside of CareCredit, it's retail. And retail is where people, they want that sofa, they want that, they may not want those tires, but they're
They need them.
they need them. They're more happy to get that than they are happy to go get their crown. Like, let's just put it that way. And but the different side of that is healthcare.
Well, there's an immediacy to that
Yeah.
need, right? And that I think on dental becomes the challenge is what's quote unquote important and urgent in the moment versus, you know what, I can deal with this for a little while. I'll put this off.
Yeah, yeah. Because to them, like most of the patients, it's changing again. If it's not broken, bleeding, or hurting, it's really not urgent just yet.
Yeah. Yep.
And I can wait, and let me just wait. But I will, the iPhone, whatever number is coming out, and I'm perfectly fine
Yeah.
spending a couple grand there. So there is that, to your point. Like, some are spending, some are not. But at the end of the day, I think what we're starting to little bit of like from a dentistry, that portion, or at least healthcare, that hasn't changed drastically. Like, all of a sudden patients are not saying,
Okay.
yeah, that, oh no, I don't want to get dental work done. Um,
So you're not seeing a major shift in case acceptance, in treatment being rendered, at least at this point. And I know there's always a lag in data and that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's been all over the map for
It
a
is.
number of months.
It is,
So
and the only reason we would see it is because the practices have started. They have pulled back in discussing the full treatment. They have pulled back on giving the best option. They have pulled back on discussing the options and how to pay for it. Like, so they may have made some assumptions and said, like, oh, you know what, because economy is, so I'm not going to. That may
yep,
not
that's a
be.
great point. Because gas is over $6 a gallon here, I'm not going to suggest you do this.
Yeah.
It's the wrong assumption to make. Let the individual make the choice.
That's all we always ask for, is like, at the end of the day, we are like, give patients that benefit of the doubt that they know what's best for them. Help them, guide them, but give them that, be upfront, be consistent, give them an option. They may come back and say, I can't do it this month because I got to send Junior to summer camp, but I need to get it done. Like, I mean, there's a life urgency of some kind all the time. So, but give them the option. Don't assume of what may or may not be, who your patients may or may not be. And that's the biggest part of, I mean, if anybody, I think I'm gonna have it tattooed on my forehead or something, that pull your diagnosed and unscheduled report, and not because for you
Yeah.
to know how well you are not doing, but to see, to get a, instead of feeling what I think my patients are, now you actually know what your patients are, where they're saying yes, where they're saying no. Is it the dollar amount? Is it the kind of treatment? Now you can make changes. If it's mostly all implants, then let's step back and say, how are we presenting it? What kind of resources are we talking about? What
Yep.
is the visual we are giving? Like, so it gives you, they tell a story. So
I think the good news there, though, and what I'm hearing that you're saying is healthcare spending, dental spending in particular, isn't shifting a lot, at least currently,
Currently.
given everything else that's going on, especially if you're putting the patient first, their needs first, and are concerned about their long-term prognosis.
Yeah, yeah, and making it same thing. It's give them the option, present it to them. You'll still be. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I've not heard a lot of practice saying that our schedules are open, and there is just
Yeah,
like
same.
so the patients are coming. Now the question is, you were seeing 15 patients before. Now you're seeing 30 patients. Then let's take a look at that
Yeah.
as well. You know, it's that means your presentation has changed to where it's not about the efficiency and the chair time and reducing the number of visits. It's whatever your priorities are. But let's take a look at that.
So 2 decades at CareCredit,
Mm-hmm.
it's forever. Um, Many years, several years prior to that in endo.
Yeah.
What's I love this question. What's something you believed early on? Let's just do the last 20 years with CareCredit.
Okay.
What's something you believed early on or were taught early on that you've completely flipped on now? That you've done a 180 on?
Yeah. Yeah, I did the 180 actually again fairly early on, starting at CareCredit. So again, coming from clinical over to admin, the questions or the objections or the excuses I would hear 20 years ago are not much different than I do now, which is one of
Okay.
the biggest one is your fees. I don't like to pay the fees to CareCredit to be able to offer financing.
Okay.
And so when I
Fair.
first started, I was like, I'm not gonna, yes, we charge what we think. We always have had like we've not changed our fees in almost 40 years, except for maybe like one time and it actually went down. But for the most part, that's so I started hearing that. You hear it enough times, and I'm coming from clinical, I'm thinking, okay, maybe that is the reason. Maybe that's the
Yep.
reason why we don't have high adoption rate and why practices don't utilize us. So it came to two things, and this was fantastic. I'm so proud of what our leaders thought at that point in time. What they said, literally, they told all the reps, pick 10 accounts, each of you. You go and pick. We won't tell you who. You go and pick 10 accounts, and for the next 3 months, we won't charge them a fees. We won't charge them
At all.
at all. So what it
Wow.
would be, they get charged, but at the end of the month, everything gets back deposited. So basically, you're not paying anything. So I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, because I can think of 10 doctors right now who every time I saw, that's what they would tell me. So I would literally went and asked, like handpicked. It was like, Dr. Tice, you've always mentioned this, the fees, blah, blah, blah. We have
Yep.
this opportunity for 3 months, we won't. And I would think that if you want to give it a try, I would love to for you to. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, and that's what every single doctor said. Like, oh yes,
Yeah. Let's
100%,
go.
sign me up. Yep, I want to be part of that. And so the requirement was that you and I will meet, kind of go over what it is. I will do a training with the team so they all understand how to do the application, conversations, and scripts, etc. What resources are available, and then 2 or 3 months later, we'll follow up and see where it goes. Now ask me, and that was just me. And at that time, how many we had? Like I think 40 or 50 reps at that time. How many of my 10 dentists performed and outperformed because we did not charge them a fees?
Yeah. How many increased at all?
Let's just put it this way: only one of them increased, 10%,
Yeah.
and then became. And here's the other part of that. After that, every time I would try to go into the offices that were part of as a follow up, none of them would see me. And it became very clear it was not about the
Ooh.
fees. It was about the comfort, the conversation, their mindset. It was about the mindset. It was never about the fees.
Yeah, but now they were almost called out because
You said.
it was all about the fees and it's not about.
And that's when I called it like I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, I get it. Like I hear it. And it's not any different than somebody says, oh my gosh, I can't lose weight because, there's not a gym nearby. Okay, I'll get you a treadmill. I still have to get on that treadmill.
Yep.
It does not. It's something. It's good for an
Oh, my
exposure.
treadmill's a clothes rack,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I finally ended up selling mine. I was like, at least let me say make some money off of it. So,
yeah.
but yeah. So that was my biggest change, and to this day, that's where I always come back to. Is like when I look at unscheduled dentistry. It's like, so Dr. Tice, what I'm hearing is you have $1 million of unscheduled dentistry. I'm gonna go super conservative. Let's say if we were able to help recoup 20% of that. So out of $1 million, would you not want $900,000 because you have to pay $100,000 in fees? And like, no, I'll take 900,000 every single day. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm always,
900 versus 0.
yeah,
Let's
is
do
it
the math.
90% of something better than 100% of nothing?
Yeah.
And that was, so to this day, I mean, I will, I will say it until somebody can prove it to me that it's not that. It's, I see it every single time. Whenever I see, I can immediately tell. Again, I said numbers tell a story. I can tell how it's being presented, at what time it's presented, where it's presented, and minor tweaks. Again, it's not about like CareCredit can only do once the patient applies. I can't really help anybody if they're not
Yeah.
applying and if they're not utilizing. So where does that conversation need to change? So that's been my biggest. I have my thought process changed, and I'm still sticking. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right. So, two final to kind of close with here. Again, you go, I mean, and I know you go to conferences and meetings and programs and meet with you manage KOLs and you work with consultants all the time. When you're watching someone on stage, now I'm thinking Seattle Study Club, whether it's member, director, whatever it is, what are you paying attention to? What separates the phenomenal from the pretty good from the, oh, they got a lot of work to do?
Yeah. So and here's, I'm gonna give credit to you because I have seen you judge and I've seen you present, and you are fantastic. But when I am looking at it, I think, I'm not sure, like when at one of the judging competitions where you said something, it's now I've just trying to made it like, it's like their presence, of course, content is, I
Yeah.
mean, if it's clinical, I can't really do anything about it, but how
Yeah,
is it
but
presented?
content's king. Yes, you have to assume content for sure.
Correct. Yeah, but then it becomes how engaging was the person? How much did the person keep my attention? Even if I was not a clinical person, was like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. I have nothing to that I can do with that. I look at the authenticity of that speaker. Is it like are they going because they've done it so many times so it becomes robotic, or it's actually they engage the audience, it's part of it, and that's what kind of gets me excited when I see it. That's one of the things I look at, and of course the command of the stage. I mean, that's everything else. Your pace. Are you walking back and forth, and you just or Gary, who goes
Yeah.
like 18 times, but he is fantastic. What he talks about. Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
he's
Well, you need subtitles with Gary,
yeah,
but
there's that. So, but no. So those are just and for me, for my world, I always try to look at is how are they able to tie that clinical conversation to the other half of the practice of how to. This is what we can do. This is how we can do it clinically. But are you able to? Is there a tie? And because that's when it starts to become an organic approach for us. It's like clinical, yes, education, yes, but can you tie it to where the patient says yes, and not just
yeah.
a lot of nodding? So
Yep. And I agree with you. Authenticity, which I think is, and I'm not knocking you when I say this,
yeah,
but it's an overused term, right? Because I am authentically different with my dog than I am with my kids, than I am with my wife, than I am with you.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yes,
so there's but the way I look at it is, can you tell they actually believe in what they're talking about? Is it a performance, or do they live it and own it?
yes. That's a good way of putting it.
And nobody's perfect, right? I'm not saying that, but if they live it on a daily basis. And when I watch you present, when I watch Todd Williams present, when I watch the best of the best present, they live it or try and live what they're presenting every single day.
Yeah.
And that, I think, comes across in spades.
100% comes through and comes very organically, and it comes honestly.
Organic's a great term. There's structure to organic, but it feels conversational almost. All right. So I want everybody to get a major takeaway today. So anybody listening, assume they're a Seattle Study Club member, but there are others who aren't. What's one thing they can walk into their practice tomorrow and do differently, ask their team to do differently? That what would you want that to be? To whether it's the financial conversation, the way they talk to each other, whatever it is, what's one single change that you see on a regular basis that you said, Greg, if you did this in your practice now,
Yeah.
boom.
Here's what I personally think. It could be like the catalyst that starts the rest of the chain reaction. And for me, it is tomorrow or day after, doesn't matter. Tomorrow, you're still in the middle of the week, but have your team pull your unscheduled dentistry report for the last, I would say do last 90 days. There's no point in going last year, because anybody who's in the last 90 days, you have a higher chance of bringing that patient back in. But not only just
Okay.
pull that, but now just start to categorize, prioritize based off of the urgency of the treatment, the size of the treatment, and if they have benefits and if they've had like financing options available or not. Now, when you take a look at that, now you should go back down to is like, let's pick somebody in your team and say, we're going to call these top 20 patients and have them come back in or attract for them to come back in. Like, it's the easiest way for you to figure out, okay, where did we miss? Like, and the reason I say go 90 days and not anything longer than that, you can if you want to, is these are in the last 90 days, the patients have been to your practice. It's still fairly fresh of seeing Dr. Tice. I still remember more stuff like, yeah, I did not accept the treatment. So there's a conversation to be had. If you're trying to call somebody who you saw last year in May, you can, but it's more of I don't think it's the best use of your time. So I would highly recommend do it, because here's the other part of that. And here's a disclaimer for the doctors and for anybody listening to this. When you pull that number up, you may think you have the well-oiled machine of practice and everything is great. Be prepared to be surprised. But it's not only just that. Don't think that you have to find somebody to blame that number on. It's not just the chair side person. It's not just the front desk. It could, doctor, be even you. How you but take the ownership. Here's the problem. We are looking at it. It's looking back in our faces that on an average we are doing like $100,000 of unscheduled dentistry. What do we need to do different? So as a team, they should come together and say, this is what we really need to make changes. And now does that lead into what kind of phone conversations we are having? Does that lead into what kind of handoff we are doing? Does that change how the hygiene handoff is to the doctor? Does that change how the doctor is presenting and creating the sense of urgency and that value? I mean, it all starts. That's why I say it's the catalyst, because now I hopefully own that there's a challenge and there's an opportunity here. What do we need to do different? And
I love the term catalyst. I think that's huge. 90 days makes a lot of sense to me, but the piece that I think is the big takeaway here is when you do this, starting to place blame shuts it down immediately. Like, it's got to be a very safe environment to have this conversation, because it can't be Sameer that screwed this up, or Greg, or Diana, or Gary, or whomever. We're a team. So we're not a family. I hate that term. We're not a family. No. Sorry, my family's dysfunctional. but we're a team, which means we all need to get better at what we do.
Yeah.
So let's look at what's not working.
Mm-hmm.
90 days of unscheduled treatment. Okay, let's just problem solve. It's brainstorming now. Let's have fun. How do we get Samantha to come in and have another conversation with us about what she needs?
Yeah, yeah. And that's the part. I mean, once you start looking at it, and then you start building upon it. Like then you start, the success starts to build on it, and then you're not. Yes, you want the new patients. I get it. That is the lifeblood of your practice, but you have so many of your patients who you have relationship with. They came, you've diagnosed, they've all met your team. It's so much more easier to convert those patients than have a brand new patient who does not know you from the next door dentist to have that. But so start there. That's like the one thing that I would say, immediately do it, prioritize it. And if they need, I mean, I can send like, here's the 2, 3, 4 things I would highly recommend after you pull it, do this, and then assign. And then after that, once a week, 15 minutes, let's look at last week's unscheduled, like what happened.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a process. Then it becomes,
Yeah. And when it's safe,
content.
that's a process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with us. You know I love you.
I love you.
Here's the challenge I'm going to put out to the people listening, because Sameer and I have been talking for 5 years now
Mm-hmm.
about building the deck in the back of your house. And that I will come out and help you do it. And it is a genuine offer, but we have never closed the deal on that.
We have not.
So when people listen to this, they need to text or email both of us
Like,
and start to say, when's the deck done? I want to see pictures.
yeah. Once I start getting, what, the deck? It's like, you still haven't done it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, and I appreciate you. I'm like a huge fan of you, of the organization. Really consider you like as one of my really, really good friends in dentistry, to your point. And I've been pretty fortunate in building this relationship. I still remember the very first directors meeting that I came to, and our evolution. But I would not change anything about it. Everything that's led from there to where we are today, and everything that's actually you've empowered me to be more creative with your study clubs, and what do we need to do different with Seattle Study Club in itself. And that's kind of is one of my next big projects is I want to take a look at and really get the clubs involved, if they would want to be part of it, and do some really cool stuff to figure out there's got to be a better way of everyone being successful at the dental and the world that we live in. So
Done. We will put that together. You got it. You got it.
thank you for everything.
Thank you, my friend, and we will talk to you soon.
Yes, we will. Thanks again.